What's good, my loves? How's everybody doing? Thanks for clicking on the video. I am Brother Jay, the movie monk. This is Movie Mass, and we're all here to beat our movie meat. What I got for you today is several films that I'm going to recommend for you to watch in the month of September. Now, September can be kind of a strange month to try and time up your watching with the season. There's no real major holiday. There's Labor Day, obviously. There's my birthday, which is oftentimes referred to as the Christmas in September, but I don't expect you to observe that particular holiday, at least not in my lifetime. But September doesn't have a major holiday like Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween that you can base your movie viewing around. Nonetheless, it is a time of transition. It's this kind of liminal time. It's situated between those longer, warmer days of summer that can be so carefree. You know, you associate it in your mind with those carefree days of your youth when you were out of school and you could do whatever, whenever. You had your whole days to just go have fun and get on adventures or get into some shit, whatever you felt like doing. And it's between those longer summer days and the shorter, cooler days of autumn that are coming up as the fall goes on. So for young people, this is the time of year where you would be going back to school, college even if you're a young adult. So it feels very much like a transitional month. Like I said, it's liminal, more than other months in my opinion. Summer is over, so if you're like me, you don't feel much like watching the summer camp movies, or you're not going to pop in Summer Rental. I'm not watching Caddyshack. I watched Caddyshack 2 months ago. The other obvious summer movies, you know, Independence Day. What are you doing? You're not watching Independence Day in September. If you do, I'm going to find you. I'm going to hunt you down. I'm going to bust your door in like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator. I'm going to be like, you watched Independence Day in September, didn't you, Sarah Connor? And at least for me, September feels a little early for Halloween movies just yet. I like to start those in October. So September, I don't get too spooky with it. I haven't busted out my Halloween decor yet. It's still safely packed away in boxes, even though my kids kind of want me to get it out. I got to tell them, it's too early, all right? Y'all are young. You don't have discipline. I'm old. I have to impart the discipline upon you. You can't just put up your Christmas tree in August because you like Christmas, okay? I mean, I guess you could, but I don't like it if you do. It offends me greatly. Anyway, September would be an easy enough month to just fill up with watching sci-fi films like Dark City. That's a good recent one that came out on 4K that I thought looked great. You can watch period pieces, obviously, period films. Barry Lyndon recently came out on 4K. There's a recent 4K release of a period film. I mean, you could always watch some samurai shit like Goyokin. You could watch kung fu shit like Shaolin Master Killer. Any number of, I mean, there's a whole slew of kung fu shits out there that you could be watching. Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Sammo Hung, Yuen Bao, Cynthia Rothrock. I mean, there's a bunch of options from a bunch of different boutiques that you could be watching. I mean, even Criterion be getting in on that kung fu shit the last couple of years. So you could always fill up your month with that kind of viewing, and I won't blame you if you do. However, if for no other reason than it kind of felt like a challenge, what I wanted to do was to bring you 4 movies, that's 1 per week, that you can watch in the month of September that are actually September movies. These are actually movies that are happening in September, okay? They're September set films. First one that I'm going to mention, and you got to get on it quick because we're already almost a week into September now as I'm recording this. So you got to get on this one real fast. It is Stand By Me, directed by Rob Reiner, based on the short story. I think it was a short story by Stephen King. Honestly, I never read the story. It's called The Body by Stephen King. I think it's one of his short stories. Anyway, I never read that shit. But Stand By Me occurs over Labor Day weekend. So really, anytime between September 1st and September 7th is peak time to watch this movie. Because obviously Labor Day is the first Monday in September. So Labor Day can be any day between the 1st and the 7th. So, I mean, I think Stand By Me is fine to watch if you watch it in the last couple of days of August. Like, I'm not going to get upset if you pop in Stand By Me on August the 30th, right? No one's going to fist fight over that. If you watch it up to the middle of the month of September, like if you decide to watch it on September 10th, 12th, again, I'm not going to get super upset, report you to the authorities based on that. I think maybe if you go a little too far into September, you know, once you get too deep into September, we start talking about like September 28th, 29th. Now I think there should be a registry for sick fucks like you who do shit like that and watch movies at all fucked up times. And I think you should be added to that registry. And I should be able to search that registry and decide whether or not I want to buy a house in your neighborhood, because I think that is fucked up. Anyway, you do have a window on Stand By Me. We're still in that window now as far as I am concerned. But once we get too into the fall, you know, there's too many fall leaves and all the trees are just gone, and there's no more like Indian summer, like that random September day that's like 80, 85 degrees. You can't watch Stand By Me anymore, okay? Once we start getting too close to October, you've missed your window. You got to wait till next year, but you still got time, so get on it. The next one I'm going to recommend for September is Friday the 13th, the 2009 remake. So this is probably the one time I'm ever going to recommend this movie too. But the 2009 remake is a great early September film, at least in my opinion. It's Friday the 13th, so there's like Camp Crystal Lake, at least a little bit in this movie, that connects us to the summer, right? I've always thought of the Friday the 13th films as summertime films because they, most of them at least, occur in and around a camp. That at least should be the backbone of Friday the 13th, is that summer camp, summertime, kids are out of school, they're getting sent to camp, there's this inherent danger of the unknown out there in the woods. That to me is the foundation, the bedrock of Friday the 13th as a franchise. And I think this film, the 2009 remake, actually does a good job of putting a little bit of a tweak or a little bit of a spin to that. Because there is that Camp Crystal Lake connection. Obviously, the young people in this film who all become victims of Jason, they do stumble upon Camp Crystal Lake. They're not there specifically for the camp. They just happen to be engaged in activities that are near the ruins of the camp. So you've got that summertime connection, but at the same time, this movie has the absolute look and feel of summertime winding down and how the world just kind of moves on, right? Crystal Lake is abandoned. It's in a total state of disrepair. They show us the sign, the bridge that leads into Camp Crystal Lake. It's all falling apart. It symbolizes that the halcyon days of summer are in the past. They're behind us. Summertime is now over, right? It's falling apart. It's a memory. It's faded into the past. In fact, the victims in this movie aren't even campers or camp counselors even. They're college kids visiting this dickwad's lake house for the weekend. And there's also this desaturated, almost like sepia cinematography where the colors are muted. They're like gray browns and tans, just completely dominate. Colors are washed out and reined in, and it looks like fall to me. And it was part of that really hideous mid to late aughts cinematography, largely used in horror movies at the time. I really despise the look in this look in films. I think it kind of kicked off with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. And since that movie was so successful, I think other films afterward were greenlit to attempt to emulate that. And I think they did that visually here with the 2009 Friday the 13th remake. There's also the image of Clay riding through a cornfield. He's riding his motorcycle through a cornfield. And cornfields, just visually, like semiotically, cornfields scream harvest time, right? The cornfield says harvest. This is fully grown corn ready to be harvested, okay? That says fall to me, that harvest, fall, not summer. Summer is done. Now it's time to harvest the crops and get ready, prepare for wintertime. That's why corn mazes are such popular fall attractions. You don't see corn mazes in the spring, and there's a damn good reason for that. You see corn mazes in the fall, in October and September, yes. So again, for me, visually, that places this film into that early September time, again, transitioning out of summer and into the fall, as this guy Clay is looking for his sister. She went missing over the summer, and he's looking for her. It's fall. He can't quite move on. It's almost a little bit of a Boys of Summer type of feel there, too. So ultimately, while I do consider all of the Friday the 13th films to be summertime films, they're films that I resist watching outside of the summertime, this 2009 remake is the one exception that I make, because this one really feels like those early days of September to me. Again, before all the leaves change and drop off and the trees are completely barren, I think you've got those kind of warmer days, maybe cooler nights, but you get those every now and again. The temperature will spike up 10 degrees or so. And to me, this film kind of screams that. The next movie that I'm going to recommend that you pop in September is Back to School, a 1986 classic starring Rodney Dangerfield. For me, this movie, it runs with that whole back to school, liminal transition. What the fuck am I gonna do with my life? Please tell me I'll actually be successful and not making YouTube videos in my basement while drinking alone. Please subscribe, everybody. Only instead of making it like an kind of back to the grind feeling, like an artistic statement. I mean, you could do something with that liminal kind of in-between time, like, I don't know where my life is going, and I have to make this decision about what path I want to put myself on, and that could be like dramatic fodder for like a, you know, a Rushmore style of film. But Rodney Dangerfield just makes it stupid fun, and that is what Back to School is. It's ultimately like a very lighthearted film. It's such an easy watch. And I think it's kind of, at least today's day and age, thanks to the dearth of physical media for this film, it feels a little bit sidelined, maybe not entirely forgotten. I don't want to say forgotten, because I think you guys are going to come out of the woodwork and say, no, I watch that movie every fall. Great, I hope you do. But I do feel like this is not the film that's been getting a lot of attention lately. You know, if you had Comedy Central in the 90s, I mean, if you were, I don't know, if you were born in the 80s and you were like a teenager during the 90s, late 90s, and you had Comedy Central, you've seen Back to School 100 times. I believe Comedy Central is probably the first place I ever saw Back to School. Anyway, it's a classic 80s film. And I don't believe the Blu-ray is still in print. I have this Blu-ray that you can see right here. I've got that. I even bought that used. I think I got that, I don't know. I bought it used somewhere. I got it at Bull Moose used, or maybe from eBay or something. I don't think I paid very much for it, 15, 18 bucks, something like that. I didn't pay some obscene, you know, out of print, $75, nothing like that. But it is out of print, and I think it is criminally underserved on physical media currently. It would be lovely to see this get some kind of boutique 4K treatment. I would love to see a chunky box with a book, you know, some really loving treatment of Back to School being a Dangerfield classic. However, I think its home distribution rights lie with Fox. And as we know, Fox is now Disney, part of the Disney cartel. And so Lord knows if the mouse will ever see fit to give us a 4K of Back to School. Perhaps they will. Their deal with Sony to produce 4K steelbooks has given us some catalog titles, and that's great. And who knows, maybe we'll see. I have to think Back to School is probably a pretty low priority for them, unfortunately, but I would be very much enthused to see any 4K, whether it's a steelbook or license it out to a boutique, because it was MGM produced, although I think it's distributed on home video by Fox, so it probably falls under that Disney cartel currently, which is also probably why we haven't seen a Blu-ray release of that damn thing since, I don't know, 2016 or whenever the hell that came out. A good portion of Back to School takes place in September. You see in the very beginning of the film when Thornton Mellon is going to visit his son Jason on campus, and he's driving through the countryside. They do make it very plainly obvious to us that the leaves are turning. The leaves have become orange and yellow, and there are scenes where he's outside of the sorority house, and the tree outside of the sorority house has dumped most of its leaves, and the leaves on the ground are all orange and yellow. They do make it a point of showing us that this film is occurring during the fall. It even goes into October. There's a notable Halloween party scene. I obviously think that kind of happens around the end of the second act. I think Back to School is a great one for September. Again, if you're getting into that like back to school feeling, that back to school vibe. In the Northeast, we start a little bit later than you guys down south. Down south, you guys start in like August, middle of August or something obscene like that. We don't start till after Labor Day. So I think first, second week of school, mid-September, great time to put on Back to School. Get you into that fall kind of college vibe. It's a great vibe for September with NCAA football kicking off again and, you know, other such festivities. So I'll give you that. The last one I want to recommend to you is a film called Waiting. I'm sure you've heard of Waiting. This is the only film that I don't think you can specifically nail down to a September setting. However, with September being this transitional month, this liminal space, temporally at least, it has this feeling of limbo for young people, for students, maybe for students who are recent graduates feel like they should be starting something new in September but aren't. It's sort of cognitive dissonance. It's like the first fall after you've graduated college and you're not going back to school, but it feels kind of weird, almost forbidden, because like that's what you've done every September for as long as you can remember, like going back to kindergarten in the fall, you would go back to school. You would resume a new school year. So like that first year where you're out of college and you're not starting a new school year, it does have kind of a weird feeling. It's basically the conflict of waiting in a nutshell. It's like not really knowing which way to go and feeling a little disoriented, I guess, in this liminal space temporally. I think actually that's probably stating it better than what the movie actually does. This movie is about a bunch of young people who are essentially stuck in that in-between time. Like it could be September, but it could also be October or November or December. Like they're just still kind of perennially stuck in this job that maybe should have been a summer job, and they should have ditched that job at the end of August and gone on to college or grad school or something else, but they're still working this job. I mean, waiting tables is a fine job. Supplement your income when you're in school during the summers, but I think it's best as a stepping stone. As much as I love the movie Waiting, I really can't stand the whole, like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up shit from Justin Long's character. And I'm very glad that they sort of tongue-in-cheek, kind of knowingly lampoon it a little bit. I mean, the guy at the end who lights everybody up and roasts everybody before he leaves. And I do appreciate that kind of coming in at the end after we've already watched an hour and a half of Justin Long agonize over his old high school classmate dude making $40,000 a year. Like that isn't what a janitor at a truck stop bathroom makes every 6 months. That's terrible. So anyway, this is a movie. Waiting is a film that absolutely is made by its varied cast and their kind of fun personalities and fun interactions. It's not necessarily a film with a great message, I think, but it's a lot of fun to watch. And I think this month is a great time to watch it because it does represent that kind of in-between kind of September period of someone's life. And so the themes fit pretty well with that late summer, kind of early fall days of September. And I do think some of the late afternoon exterior lighting in some of the scenes that take place outside during the afternoon feels a lot like that fall transition into shorter daylight hours, those earlier sunsets that start to make themselves apparent in September. So I do think it does have a little bit of a September-ish look to the daylight scenes that take place outdoors. So anyway, that is my list of recommendations for September. If you don't like any of the movies that I recommended, you know what to do. From the back. From the back. Anyway, I hope you like the 4 movies. Maybe you haven't seen some of the movies that I recommended. That would be cool. Go watch them and come back here and tell me what you thought of the films that I recommended. I can take a little bit of light criticism. That's fine.
Why you always telling me to fucking go, man?
Whether you liked them or not, I appreciate you being here. Not as much as I appreciate these mofos right here. So do yourself a favor and get your name in that list. Dog, I'm going to drink the rest of this. Although, I don't know, that's a tall boy. I'm going to do my best, right? It doesn't matter if you win or lose. It doesn't matter if you finish the beer. What matters is you did your best. And that's what I'm going to tell my kids when we're pounding beer together when they're older. Anyway, cheers to you, patrones, and the rest of you guys who did the right thing by clicking play on this video. This one is for you. I'll catch you on the flippy dippy. I love you very much. Rub your nipples. Nope, I'm not finishing that. Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. I let you down.